I'm 73 years old, and I'm about to tell you something that might upset you.
Everything you think you know about getting older is completely wrong. And the worst part, the people who should be telling you this, your parents, your teachers. Society, they're either lying to you or they don't know themselves. I'm going to die soon. Not tomorrow. Maybe not this year. But soon enough that I can feel it. And before I go, there's something you need to hear. Because I spent 60 years making the same mistake you're probably making right now. You see, I spent the first 50 years of my life believing the same lies you probably believe right now. I thought I had it all figured out. I had the career, the house, the respect of my peers. But at 52, something happened that shattered everything I thought I knew. At 52, I had what doctors call a cardiac event. That's a fancy way of saying my heart tried to kill me. I was in a meeting, discussing quarterly projections, when suddenly the room started spinning. The next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed with tubes coming out of my arms and my wife crying in the corner. The doctors said I was lucky. I had just come face to face with my own mortality, and they called it luck. But you know what? They were right. Because lying in that hospital bed, with nothing to do but think, I realized something terrifying. I had been living my entire life on autopilot. I wasn't really alive, I was just going through the motions, checking boxes, trying to meet everyone else's expectations. And here's the part that haunts me to this day. If I had died that day, if my heart had stopped permanently, what would I have left behind? A nice house, a retirement account, a collection of achievements that nobody would remember in 5 years. Let me tell you the biggest lie you're probably telling yourself right now. I have time. I'll do that later, when I'm older. I'll finally live the life I want. I see young people in their 20s, 30s, even 40s. And they're all saying the same thing. When I make more money, then I'll be happy. When I get that promotion, then I'll relax. When the kids are grown, then I'll travel. When I retire, then I'll finally do what I love. Let me save you 50 years of regret with one simple truth. That day never comes. You know why? Because the goalposts keep moving. You get the promotion, and suddenly you need the next one. You make more money, and suddenly you need more money. You're always chasing something just out of reach, and before you know it, you're 70 years old wondering where your life went. I did this. I spent 30 years climbing a ladder, only to realize when I got to the top that it was leaning against the wrong wall. And you can't climb back down and start over. Time doesn't work that way. Here's something nobody tells you when you're young. Success is a terrible goal. And I say this as someone who achieved everything I set out to achieve. I made partner at my firm. I bought the house. I had the respect of my colleagues. And you know what? None of it mattered. I had a friend who died 3 years ago at 68. Worked 70-hour weeks his entire life. Built a multi-million-dollar business. Never took a real vacation. Kept saying he'd slow down next year. Next year came, and he had a stroke. At his funeral, his son said, "My father was a successful man, but I barely knew him. Is that the legacy you want? Your regrets won't be about the things you did wrong. They'll be about the things you didn't do at all." I don't lie awake at night thinking about failed business deals. Those don't matter. You know what keeps me up. The trip to Japan I never took because I was too busy. The relationship with my brother that I let deteriorate. The book I always wanted to write but never started. The time I didn't spend with my kids because I was working late. These things eat at you. The missed opportunities. The roads not taken. The love you didn't express. The risks you didn't take because you were afraid. The people you love, your parents, your siblings, your close friends, you think you have unlimited time with them. You don't. And one day, that time will run out. My father died when I was 45. We had a complicated relationship, and I was always too busy to really work on it. I kept thinking we'd have time to talk when I was less busy. We never got that chance. Heart attack, gone within hours, and you know my biggest regret. All the Sundays I didn't call him. All the times I was too tired to drive over for dinner. All the little moments I let slip away. There won't always be more. I met my wife when I was 27. She laughed easily. That's the first thing that comes back when I think of her. Not in this big, performative way. Just easily. Like it didn't cost her anything. She used to touch my arm when she talked. This brief little gesture, making sure I was still there. I was always half somewhere else. We talked about the future constantly. The future felt safe. Everything would line up in the future. We'd have time then. We'd travel then. We'd finally just sit together then. Nobody warned me that then is the most dangerous word in the English language. Work didn't storm in like an obsession. It crept in like common sense. A longer day here, a weekend there, skipping dinner because something needed finishing, canceling a vacation because it wasn't a good year. I always had a reason. The reasons always sounded smart. What I didn't know is that reasonable choices can hollow you out from the inside. By my 30s, people started calling me dependable, driven, solid. I wore those words like badges proving I'd figured it out. Meanwhile, my wife learned to eat dinner alone without complaining. She stopped asking what time I'd be home, not because she was angry, because she'd adjusted. That should have terrified me. It didn't. I mistook her silence for understanding. Love doesn't disappear. Overnight, it thins out, like paint you keep watering down. I thought that was just marriage. I thought that was normal. We had a son. I held him in the hospital once, awkwardly, scared I'd drop him. I remember staring at his tiny fingers. I also remember thinking about a meeting I was missing. I told myself I'd make it up to him later, when he got older, when things slowed down. Guess what? Never slowed down. The damage wasn't dramatic, that's the cruel part. No explosions, no screaming matches, no doors slamming in the night. Just the slow drift, this gradual absence that became normal. I missed his first steps, then his first words, then whole chunks of his childhood. I showed up more in photographs than in his actual memories. Some nights I did sit on the edge of the bed feeling this dull ache I couldn't name. I figured it was stress, exhaustion, the price of ambition. I didn't realize I was grieving my own life in real time. By my 40s, I'd built what everyone calls success, a title, comfortable money, respect from people who wanted my advice. They'd ask how I did it. I'd tell them what I believed. Then, work hard, sacrifice now, enjoy later. I was completely wrong, just didn't know it yet. My wife aged quietly beside me. She got tired faster. Her laughter came less often. We still loved each other, I think, but we lived these parallel lives under the same roof. Our conversations turned into logistics. Who's picking him up? Who paid the electric bill? What needs fixing? The turning point came on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. My wife collapsed at the grocery store. By the time I got to the hospital, she was gone. An aneurysm. Quick and painless, they told me, as if that made it easier. I stood in that hallway staring at a scuffed piece of linoleum. and my first thought was that I'd call her later to say I was running late. The habit ran so deep it survived her death. Everyone told me I was handling it well. I went back to work fast. Didn't know what else to do. The house felt unbearable. Work felt familiar. Here's the thing about grief. It waits. It's patient. It finally caught me one evening when I opened the closet and saw her coat hanging there. That's when it hit me there were no more chances. No more dinners to come home early for. No more conversations I could choose to have instead of postpone. The lesson showed up 60 years too late. My son and I tried to close the distance. But time isn't a gap you just step over. By then he had his own life. His own patterns. His own ways of handling my absence. We're polite now, careful. Loving, in this reserved, measured way. I don't blame him. I taught him exactly how to live without me. When I retired, everyone said, "Now you'll finally have time." I almost laughed. Time for what? The people I was supposed to share it with were gone or living their own lives somewhere else. I filled my days with routines. Walks round the block. Reading the paper. Small errands I stretched longer than necessary. I learned to cook for one person. That was harder than it sounds. This morning I woke up at 5:30. Not because I wanted to, my body just decides these things now. The house sits quiet round me. Too quiet. It's been this way for years. I shuffle to the kitchen, pour myself coffee the doctor told me to quit, and I sit at this small wood-owned table that has outlasted most of my furniture and all of my excuses. Time does this weird thing when you're old. It collapses. Whole decades vanish when you're not looking. I'll spot a coffee stain on the counter and suddenly I'm 32 again, racing out the door, late for work, telling myself I'll slow down after things settle. They never settled. It took me 60 years to understand something stupidly simple. Life isn't something you earn at the end. It's happening right now, while you're busy trying to prove yourself. I thought being present was optional, something you could postpone until you felt secure enough, successful enough, ready enough. I didn't understand that presence is everything, not grand gestures or expensive. Trips, just showing up, again and again, on ordinary, forgettable days. After my heart attack, I made big changes, stepped back from work, started saying no to things that didn't matter, started saying yes to things I had put off for decades. In these last 21 years, I've learned more about life than I did in the previous 52. What matters is embarrassingly simple. Time with people you love. Work that feels meaningful to you. Experiencing things, not owning things. Creating memories. Being present. I know it sounds simple. When I was your age, I would have rolled my eyes. Sure, but I have bills to pay. And yes, you do. I'm not saying quit your job. I'm saying don't sacrifice what matters for what doesn't. Here's a question I want you to ask yourself, and I want you to answer it honestly. If you died tomorrow, would you be satisfied with the life you've lived so far? Not would people be impressed by your eulogy. Not did you achieve enough. Just would you be satisfied? If the answer is no, then what are you waiting for? What are you doing with your time that is so important that you are willing to gamble your one precious life on it? I have grandchildren, 3 of them, and when I look at them, I see the same patterns I see in most young people today. They're stressed, they're anxious, they're chasing things that won't make them happy. They're making the same mistakes I made, and I try to tell them. I try to share what I've learned. But you know what? They don't really listen. Not because they're bad kids, but because they can't. They're living in the storm right now. They can't see the patterns yet. They think their situation is unique, that the old rules don't apply to them. That's why I'm making this video. Because maybe, just maybe, if enough people hear this message, someone will actually listen. Someone will make different choices. Someone will avoid the regrets that haunt people like me. Every single day, you're getting closer to death. Nobody likes to think about this, but you don't have unlimited time. Neither do the people you love. Your parents, if they're still alive, they're getting older every day. One day. Probably sooner than you think. They won't be here. Your friends, your spouse, your children, none of these relationships last forever. So what are you going to do? Keep putting off that phone call. Keep postponing that trip. Keep telling yourself you'll make time later. Or are you going to wake up today and start living like your tea? Me is limited. Because it is, if I could go back and talk to my 30-year-old self. Here's what I would say. Stop trying to impress people who don't matter. Stop sacrificing your health for your career. Stop putting off joy until someday. Stop waiting for permission to live the life you want. Start calling your parents more often. Start taking the trips you dream about. Start doing the things that scare you. Start saying no to obligations that drain you. Start saying yes to experiences that fulfill you. And most importantly, start now. Not next year. Not after this project. Not when you have more money or more time or more whatever. Now. Because I promise you, the perfect time will never come. Life will always be messy and complicated and full of reasons to wait. But if you wait, you will wake up one day and realize you waited your entire life away. I'm 73. If I'm lucky, maybe 10 or 15 more years. Maybe 20 if blessed. Probably less, and I'm okay with that. Because these last 21 years have been the richest of my life. Not because I made more money. Because I finally started living intentionally. Appreciating every day. Prioritizing what matters. I've traveled to places I always wanted to see, deepened relationships with my children and grandchildren, pursued hobbies I put off, forgiven people I held grudges against, said I love you countless times. I'm happier now, at 73, with less time ahead, than I was at 30, when I thought I had all the time in the world. That's the irony. When you understand time is limited, you start to actually live. You stop wasting it. You stop postponing joy. You start creating the right time. You have a choice right now. Today, keep living the way you're living, chasing success, putting off happiness, telling yourself you'll make time later, or wake up. Realize time is running out faster than you think. And the life you're waiting to live needs to start now. I can't make this choice for you, but I can tell you, you don't want to be 73, looking back, wishing you made different choices. Don't waste 52 years figuring this out. Learn from my mistakes. Live intentionally. Prioritize what matters. Stop waiting for someday. Loneliness isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it just sits there beside you, like an extra chair you never thought to move. I don't have much time left. I feel it in my bones. I've mostly made peace with that. What I haven't made peace with is how long it took me to learn. What actually mattered. I'm not saying my life was a failure. It wasn't. I did plenty of things right. I provided for my family. I survived. I kept going. But surviving isn't the same thing as living. All I have now is memory, and even that's fading. Faces blur. Voices get quieter. Some days I struggle to remember the exact sound of my wife's laugh, and that scares me more than dying. If this stirred something in you anything at all, don't just agree with me. That's easy. Honor it by being there today, in the life you already have. I'd give everything I've got left to do that one more time. Sunday is today. It always has been. The clock is ticking. What are you going to do with your time?